Hey guys, it's Vague Parade here, and I'm just making this video to show you how to make themes on muOS beans at a basic level, intermediate level, and advanced level. To start off, what is muOS beans? Well, it is an operating software started by a wonderful person we call Adixel to play ROMs on handheld devices. Currently, those devices include the Anbernic RG35XX, the RG35XX Plus and H models and SP models. And to get right to it, this is what the default themes would basically look like around December 2023. At the dawn of muOS, when people were discovering it or installing it on these Anbernic devices, people compared it to looking a lot like RetroArch, and that is what it's based off, or was based off. Now it's fully fleshed out in the age of beans, so you can do some really cool theme stuff, like these examples right here. However, if you want to go back to something more basic, you absolutely can, like this example, RGUI Dark. Yeah, it's a very flexible device when it comes to creating themes, and I'm here to show you how to make your own. So to start off with, let me show you some examples of default themes that are included when you first boot up your device. Here's one called C64, here's one called Capuchin Frappe, here's one called Dracula, here's the muOS Classic theme and the muOS Beans theme. The last two are the standard default ones, with the classic one being a revamped version of one we saw earlier, which is now, it was the default one earlier with a different font, and now we've got this new font as standard to allow for the future updates when eventually there'll be multiple languages. So yes, this one right here is the default one that comes when you first install Beans, and it's very similar to the classic one I just showed, but it has images as the main menu, which is the big thing for Beans, along with loads of new variables that you can change when making your themes, and I will show you all of them during this video. So before we properly get into it, this is the most basic theme structure which is necessary to have a working theme on muOS. You have the credits at the beginning. Not necessary, but I very recommend having your credits there so people know who made your theme. You have a font folder. This is actually optional, because if you have this empty or you don't have this font folder there at all, it will default to Noto Sans at the moment as of the end of May 2024. You have your image folder, which will contain your Bootlogo, which is a BMP image. Then a folder within that called Wall, which will be all your PNGs, which are your backgrounds for your theme. But the most important one of all is the scheme folder. And you should always have a default.txt file in there. And what that is it's a text file, which is the central nervous system of your theme. It will tell you exactly how everything works, all your colors of all your things. There's so many options in there, and I'm going to go through the entire thing. Okay, so the way to learn how to make themes on muOS, I think the best way to do it is by editing a pre-existing theme. It will help you familiarize yourself with all the different bits of the scheme file that we're editing and the structure that we're using. At the moment, you can ignore the sound file, the sound folder. I'll go through the reason why that's there and more stuff which you might see in other themes later on. But for now, what we're going to do as a very basic starting point is we are going to take the muOS Classic theme, lovingly made by Adixel for the pre-Beans stuff. There you are, there's the credits. And we are going to, well, let's say our favorite color in the world is pink. All we want is pink everything. So we're going to take everything which is yellow in the muOS Classic theme and make it pink. So first of all, best way to start off is by going into your scheme file and loading this up, your default txt file. Here you are. It may look a bit overwhelming at first, but don't worry. Once you kind of navigate it and like a couple of times, it makes sense. It's literally just reading and understanding what all the sections are. As long as you don't really change anything major, you won't have any big issues. So feel free to follow along with this. The way that I kind of learned, because I've never had any kind of background in coding, I've never done coding in my entire life, I was a bit worried that it would be a bit tricky for me to do this, but it really isn't actually that hard. I was very happy to find out that all you had to really do was edit two numbers, and those two numbers, two variables that are really important to understand are alphas. So here you are, here's help background alpha as an example, which range from 0 to 255, and hex codes. So here's your help border, actually no, help background, this one, which is a hex code. And what a hex code is it's a 6-digit code which tells you a color. In this case, we would be editing the background of the help window, and then, so the color of the help background, and then the alpha would be editing the transparency. That's what alpha is. It's transparency from 0 to 255, which are 256 possible values that you can change it to. Because if you have 0, it will be completely transparent. If it's 255, it's fully opaque, aka you can't see through it at all. So just keep that in mind to know what they are. Let me tell you the tool which I'm going to use to find out what hex code is the color that I want. So I use many websites because it's just easy. That's the way I've kind of learned. But there's other ways to get hex codes if you use like graphic design and stuff like Photoshop. You can find hex codes if you're using Photoshop by going on your color picker. It will display the hex code in the bottom left. But I use htmlcolorcodes.com, which is, I know, very simple, but it's what you need. So let's we'll pick pink, which is about this one, and what we've got here, we can adjust it as much as we would like. I mean, to make it completely standard for the right digits, let's get that to 255 here. How can I edit this? Can I edit this? Yes, right here. So the pink that we want, which is really bright neon pink, that's FF00FF. So let's take that, we'll copy this, we'll go back to our default.txt scheme file, and we will find all the cases of yellow and replace it with pink. So we know that on the muOS Classic the theme, that the things which are in yellow are the highlighted text and some of the text which you see in the header, aka the top of the screen at all times, and the footer at the bottom of the screen at all times. So I know from that, for example, the daytime text, that's always yellow. So this code must be yellow, which is F7E318. So every instance of F7E318, we're going to replace with pink. So there you go, FF00FF. So you would go through all of them here, and whenever you see F7E318, you would replace it with FF00FF. I'm going to do that right now.
A few moments.
Now that we've done that, there might be some other colors that we want to edit, but this is the most basic starting point. We're just going to leave it at that. So now that we've done everything and changed it to pink, the next thing we want to think about is what other aspects of the theme do we want to change. So I remember rightly that the muOS Classic theme has yellow stars in the background. Right, okay, so we don't want that. We're going to delete it. So this is default.png. You see those yellow stars? Let's just get rid of that completely. And MUX charge, MUX start, we'll leave those there. So now we've deleted it. The issue is that there is now no default theme background, which you might think, oh shit, what are we going to do about that? Well, let me tell you. Scheme.txt, we're back here again. Easy thing to do. We're going to set the background, and the hex code for black, I know, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's all zeros. So, and the alpha we want to be fully opaque, which is 255. Save that, and then close that. So now we have our theme. It's the muOS Classic, but in pink with no yellow star background. There's a few other things that we could change. Here we have the MUX Charge and MUX Start, which are just smaller versions and in yellow of the Bootlogo. But for now, we're just going to leave it, and that's a good starting point for finding out a small thing you can do to edit pre-existing themes. Okay, so now we want to test this theme. Now, the thing you've got to really remember when you are you're zipping your theme, is to do it in the right way, otherwise it will break. A lot of people miss this when they do their first themes, and it's really, really important, right? So what you've got to do is to zip it correctly, you have to select your files within your folder and then compress as such. What a lot of people do is they go into their previous folder and they take the whole folder, they compress it, and then they say, that's good. I'm just going to take that and that's my zip. That is completely incorrect. Do not do this. So you want to go into your theme and then select all of these and compress them. Come on, one-handed, because I'm holding my phone as a mic, and you click compress. There you go. And there is your theme. We're going to just separate it out by calling it muOS pink test. And there it is. That's our theme zip. Okay, so here we are. What I've done is I've put the main SD card from my muOS enabled device and put it onto my Mac. So we can browse the files and put our theme zip into the correct place. To really get the most out of themes, it's really good to know the structure of your muOS enabled device. Where themes live is muOS and then theme. As of the current update, which is beans, and this is being recorded at the end of May 2024, just to remind you if things have changed in the future. Hello, future people. So you would take your muOS pink test zip, which is a standard zipped theme, the way it should have been done, and you would drag and drop it into your theme folder. And let's see if it's there. Where is it? muOS pink test. There it is. There we are. One really important thing to know about themes and the structure of muOS is that the music currently lives outside of here. It used to live within the theme itself, along with a folder called sounds, which were basically navigation sounds. I believe they will be re-implemented in time, but there's currently edits going on to, well, the development of the system means that I think they're changing the audio pipeline system to wire pipeline. I can't quite remember. I'm sorry if I've got the information incorrect, but they will be re-implementing those two audio features of themes in time, I think. So currently, if you want any music on your theme or whilst you're browsing, it will live here. Otherwise, within your theme folder, there's another folder called preview, which is where all the preview images for your themes will live. I will help you make a preview image in time. For this test, we're just getting this very basic theme up and running. So now that that zip is dropped in your theme folder, it's installed as is. You might come across some themes that say that they are installed via the archive manager. If that's the case, you would drop that zip into here, archive. I will show you later on how to create a theme that you install via the archive manager. But to put it simply, the advantage of this is that you can just drop an archive manager compatible zip into here, and it will install both the theme and the preview image as a very simple installation feature. It's easier than having to drop in a zip and then the PNG in the right place, because you know that they're going to be in the right place, especially for people who just want to not tinker with their muOS enabled device. They just want to get it up and running as quickly as possible. But in this case, once again, we've put our zip in the right place in here where it needs to be for this very simple test. And let's see if that's worked. So here we are. I've put the zip onto my RG enabled device, and we're going to go down to configuration, theme picker, and we should see it here. So we have to go all the way down to muOS test pink. This is the first time I've done this, by the way, so fingers crossed this works. Put it there. Oh, look, everything's pink. It's exactly as we wanted. It is a bit intense, really, but you know, it's a cool little test. It does actually look quite good. My phone camera makes it look even brighter than it is in real life. So yeah, well done. You've made your first working basic theme. If you reboot it, oh, classic pop, you'll find that the boot logo is there, as was the yellow one. And let's see what else is there. Yep, there's our pink verbose boot text with the yellow logo. So it looks quite funky, but you know, we roll with it. We knew what we were expecting. That's what we were expecting. We got everything we wanted. Let's check the bar. Bar's good. See, that's something that we forgot to edit there, is the background, or the non-active background part of the bar. That's still yellow. But you know, you are going to do so much regarding troubleshooting your theme that's going to happen a lot. Let's see if our keyboard also looks similar. Our keyboard actually looks absolutely perfect. There's your hot pink theme. I hope you enjoyed making your basic theme. Here we are. We're going to start getting a little bit more complex now. First thing we're going to do is regarding the boot logo. We're going to keep working on this pink theme because, you know what, why not? Let's see what we can do with it. The boot logo, this is very important. It has to be a .bmp file, bitmap. And the only type of bitmap, BMP file, that muOS will like is a 24-bit BMP file, not an 8-bit file, not a 16-bit file, not a whatever else options there are, 24-bit, okay? So first of all, let me just show off some Photoshop skills. Let's just copy the BMP file from the one we already had and jump it in here. Here it is. Let's make this pink. So I'm just gonna do some magic. Magic. There you go. That's good enough. That looks disgusting. I love it. I'm gonna now save this into my downloads folder, but I'm gonna export it as a PNG. When you're making images for this, for the device, the one thing that you really need to remember is the resolution of your device. The resolution of all your, well, of the current devices is 640 by 480 pixels. There you go, 480 here and 640 there. That's really important when putting any background images or boot logos onto your device. You need to get the right resolution. Otherwise, it will either not work or look really crap, right? So I'm just going to save my boot logo in my downloads folder. Sorry if any of this is blurred out. I don't want to expose any of my precious documents. Boot logo pink. There we are. And that's now saved. So when I make boot logos, what I actually use, as you guessed it again, is a website, because I know it works. I have this saved. It's onlineconverting.com/image/convert to BMP. I don't have a lot of software on my computer which is very useful apart from Photoshop and my video editing software and my music production software. And I refuse to learn the right way to do things. So I use a lot of online converters. I know what they do, so if they ever go offline, I'll just find another way to do it, because I'm sure someone else will figure it out. Whatever. I'm not being very technical, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. So using this website, BMP Converter, it automatically puts it out to 24 true color. The default settings work instantly. So this is the website. I'll link it down in the description as well. And any other websites I use, I'll put them down there. But let's take our pink boot logo, drop it in here. Whoops, wrong place. Let me just make sure I add that in the right place. Drop it here. That's converting. ... And then once we have it, we can download it and it will go straight into whatever downloads folder you have. By the way, I know I'm doing this on a Mac, but you can do this all on Windows. There's our pink BMP. Let's put this back up here. Once again, might have blurred some of this out. Here we are. We're back into our folder, image, paste that there. There's our old one. Let's get rid of that. We have to name it the right way. So here we are, Bootlogo BMP. And there it is. There's our pink boot logo. Of course, if you can do graphic design well or whatever, if you can make any kind of image, you can, in the right resolution, you can convert it to a boot logo the way I just did it, and it will work on your device as long as you put it in the right place within the image folder before wall, as you can see here, and you zip your theme correctly. You will have done it right and it will work. So there you go. That's how you make a compatible boot logo for your theme. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of scheme files. This is the default TXT of the pink one that we're currently working on. I'm gonna tell you what every single one of these sections and every line does. So you can make very substantial edits, advanced, very minuscule, tiny configurations to your theme, which is currently available on muOS beans. So, first section, background. We said it earlier, it changes the color of your background if you don't have a background image file. This is the opacity of it, and this is the color. I believe that if you have a default image, you can fade it out by putting a color on top of it and changing the alpha so it's transparent on top of it, but I don't know why you would do that. I would leave that. So you can either have an image as a background as default.png in your wall folder, or a background color as we did earlier. This font section will adjust the padding of fonts in different places which they are put at within your theme. For example, if you're loading in a custom font and there's a spacing of the text in terms of its alignment within the place it's meant to fill is a bit off. Let's say that in the header window, the text next to the battery, or the text in the header compared to the battery is misaligned, like it's too far up or down, you would change some of the pads. This is your header pads. I normally just change this number at the top here if the header text is off. Footer, same thing. Again, you can just mess with these and after taking a pre-existing theme and make sure that the bottom of your font is aligned. Same with the message. There's a message icon which comes up for like when you're saving changes between advanced settings. You can adjust the padding for that too. And font list pad, which is probably the most important one, and the icon as well, which will change the location or the alignment of the glyph next to the text with the text itself. So these two here are what I change a lot to make sure that it's aligned absolutely perfectly. So that's font. Status, padding right, what that is the Wi-Fi indicator and the battery indicator on the top right of the screen. This is how many, I think it's how many pixels they are away from the right side of the screen. By default, I think it's 10, or in this case it's 12, but whenever I do themes, my default is 10. And the same goes for the padding of the date, which is here. Now let's speed through some of these. Battery, network, and Bluetooth. If your battery is active, that means it's charging. Here's the hex code for that. Here's the hex code if your battery is for normal, if it's not charging. And if your battery is low, which you can set which percentage it indicates a low battery, you can change the color of that here as well. I think by default on this one, this is a green of some sort, and this is a red, and it's all fully opaque here. So that's what battery is. Network, similar situation, fully opaque alpha values in this case. Active is pink, which means that the Wi-Fi is on. Normal seems to be gray, if I recall correctly. It's the same with Bluetooth. That's what those do. Text, again, that's the text color, which is pink in this sense, and opaque alphas. So there you go. And again, with the padding, that's the padding from the left side of the screen to the starting point of your date. Something which I did with the Dreamcast theme is that I actually moved the date all the way to the right side of the navigation window because that was more accurate to the main menu of the Dreamcast theme. I'll put a photo of that up on the screen now. So you can do some fun things with this. Footer and header. You can actually add transparent backgrounds on your header still. It used to be that you would put in an extra image to be a footer icon, sorry, not icon, footer background or a header background, but now you can just do colors. There's no need to have individual images as the header or footer backgrounds because you can just insert that into your graphic design software when you're making your general background. And again, here's your text and alpha, same with the background alpha. You need to have understood this by now because there's this for every single component in the theme file here. Help. This is not a cry for help. This is me telling you how this is, how this works. There's this, which is the background color. This is the background alpha. You can also have a border on your help window, which is great. Here's your hex code and here's your alpha, so your transparency. And then you can choose the color of the content of your help window and the title. I think in this sense, the title is pink and the content is gray. For some of these options, you can change the radius of the border, like how rounded the borders are. That's under the radius. Standard is 3. If you want a completely box square, it's 0. If you want it really rounded, I would do 10 plus. Navigation. So your navigation bar is in your footer. This changes per window depending on what you're looking at, because in some cases it will be like, for example, like the Wi-Fi window, it will come up with your X symbol and say scan, because you can click the X symbol to scan for Wi-Fi networks nearby. But in some cases that won't appear. So you need to set each button on your device as a color to display on your footer as the navigation part of your theme. That's what the navigation part is. If anyone says that, that's what the buttons show up at the bottom and in the footer of your theme when they're applicable. A, glyph, and alpha, that's the icon and then the text. So in groups of 4 lines, there's your A button, your B button, your X button, and your Y button. The C button and the Z button and the navigation menu, well, the menu buttons, I have to be painfully honest with you, I can't remember what they are. If you want to leave a comment and tell me what that is, that's great. The menu one is your menu button. But yes, if I remember, I will put it back in, but at the moment I can't. Navigation. Right, so this alignment part up here is very new. This will tell you, or you can tell the device, where you want the navigation buttons to be aligned with in accordance with your theme, right? So if it's on 0, it means they'll be aligned to the left. If it's on 1, they'll be aligned to the middle, which is quite nice. I've did it with my Xbox theme. 2 is on the right, and anything above that gets really wacky and spaces apart very strangely. Feel free to experiment. Next, we have list. So this is important. This is for your entirety of your menus and what they will look like. So you can give individual backgrounds for your list items. So the ones which aren't highlighted, the one which you haven't currently selected, you can set it. You can give a background to it. So here it is. Here's the hex code and here's the alpha for it. And you can also add gradients to it, which is quite nice. So the gradient, it again ranges from 0 to 255, depending on like basically 0 to 100%. The starting gradient will be this first color, and the end gradient will actually be your background color here. So if you're not using an image in your background, you can make it seem like it fades from your color that you've chosen here, sorry about the alarms, to your background that you've chosen up here. So that's that. You can also have indicators on the left side of the glyph, as you can see in various examples, and you can change the indicator color and the alpha. And here's the text color of those non-selected list items. So normally I don't have any indicators on my default ones. So that's my standard go-to. If it's 0 on the alpha, by the way, it doesn't matter what the color code is. Just keep it 6 digits just in case it messes something up in terms of the formatting. But yeah, if it's 0, you won't be able to see it anyway. Disable text, for example, on your network settings again. If you have it enabled to DHCP, you cannot change the IP settings. So you can change the color of any text that you cannot access in terms of settings here, and the alpha value for that there. I might show you an example of this. And then from there on, you have the same thing as the default, but for the focus. And the focus is the one that you've got currently selected. Here's your color, here's your alpha. For this one, we got the background very light pink, and the gradient starts and finishes about, what's that, 80%-ish of the way through. So that would fade from pink, slightly transparent pink, so you can actually still read the text, to completely black about 80% of the way through. Indicator, again, it changes the little line on the far left side of the screen. The color of that is here. This is the transparency, and here's the text for that. Again, make sure you know what hex codes and alphas are. I won't explain it again. Image list, I'm not going to really, I don't touch this at all. There's no point. You can recolor images, and you can recolor previews, and you can change radiuses. I cannot remember if this is still an enabled feature on themes. So I would ignore this. Sorry, I'm not completely thorough. I'm trying to be as thorough as possible without overwhelming you with information. But there you go. The charging window, yes, this changes the background of your charging window. You can have like basically a line of background color behind your text on your Verboost boot and charging windows. This one here will show when you've plugged it into charge initially before you started booting, and it will say click power to continue booting. And yes, you can change the background here and the text color, and you can change the Y position. I believe if you put an increased number, it will bring it down further. So if you have it on 200, it will be lower than it currently is set to. Same with the Verboost boot. What Verboost boot is that if you have it enabled in your advanced settings, it means that you'll be able to see every single little bit of booting messages or what it's doing to your device, what part it's booting, like the configs, etc. Oh, we're getting there. I know this is getting quite long, but we're nearly there. So keyboard, let's use the Wi-Fi settings as an example again. This will change the different aspects of your keyboard. The overall background window of your keyboard can be adjusted here in terms of color and transparency. The border of the overall window can be changed here, color and transparency, and the radius of the window can be changed here. Your text, which is your general text, which is the text that you type in the top when you're typing in your text. That will be there. It's also the default color of any text which is not selected in terms of when you're moving your directional keys to select the keys. That's your hex code for that and your transparency for that. The focus, that's the one which you've got selected, hex code and transparency. Item background, that is the one that you haven't got selected, hex code and transparency. Background focus, that is the one that you've got currently selected, hex code and transparency. So these two are both full black. or nearly black in this case. On-screen item border, that's the border of the items that you haven't got selected. There and this. Border focus, that is the one you've got selected. So you can really get into the nitty-gritty of making sure that your screen keyboard looks exactly as you want it. And on-screen item radius, that will change the roundness of both the item that you haven't selected and have selected. The roundness of those buttons. Notification, which is the same as your message. That is background, border. It's all now self-explanatory, right? It's just repeating the same steps. I have a rule of thumb where the message and the help windows and the bar all used basically the same alpha values and hex codes. So it's consistent. It's a way to make themes faster. And you can interpret them into the hex codes and alphas here as well. Copying and pasting is your friend here. Just make sure when you paste it, you don't accidentally paste in an extra space here. That can happen. Make sure you got that right, otherwise it won't work. Any line which is slightly off will just not function properly. I don't really need to go through these. You've got it by now. Bar, let me just quickly go through this though. That's the background of the window. This is the border of the window, the radius. The progress background is that yellow that we saw earlier. This is currently a light yellow as the main background of your bar. Let me just actually change this to black. So now that it doesn't fade between pink and yellow in terms of when you're changing the volume up or down or the brightness up and down. Your active background radius, you can change the progress radius there. Bar icon, hex code, and alpha values. There is an icon to the left when you're doing bar stuff. It will have a volume icon or a brightness icon, and that will change the color and the transparency of that. Oh, okay, last bits. Roll. So roll is the newly introduced passcode feature in Beans. Here's the text, the regular text for it. The background for the non-selected bit, the non-selected text that you're changing. Roll radius is, this is the radius of the buttons which aren't currently selected. And this is select here. So it's the same thing. The radius of the one that you've got selected when you're changing the number up and down. Border color, that is the metacut. Metacut is about your message or your help window. It basically tells you where to cut off the text. I still need to mess with this one. I don't really use it very often, but if you want to experiment with this one and let me know how you find messing with it, you let me know. I don't really touch it. MISC. These are 6 really important parts of your theme. Animated background. If you set this to 1, you can replace your default.png in your image/wall folder, and you can change it to a default.gif if you have a moving image. It's still work in progress. This feature still doesn't look great, but you can have an animated background for your theme, which is awesome. Content padding left. This will shift your list items to be far from the left, which is very useful. Content width will also shrink the entirety of your viewable space on your list items. So, for example, if you've got, with my Xbox theme as a good example actually, on the left-hand side you've got an overlay which will basically tell you what page you're in. And we want that visible, so we've moved the indicators and all the start of the list items a bit to the right, and the same with the right hand side. We've used content width to bring that side in so you can see every single bit of the list items without cutting them off on the right or left hand side. We've put that indent on them so that you can see every visible aspect of the theme. Navigation type. Okay, this is cool. Navigation type 0 means that your list items, when you're navigating through it, is if you go up and down on your D-pad, it will change list items from top to bottom. Navigating from up and down, basically. Navigation type 1 is horizontal navigation. So if you went left and right on your D-pad, you would navigate that way. Now you may think to yourself, why would I want to do that for list items? Well, you probably wouldn't, but you can make themes with images to make it basically simulate or emulate, moving a menu which is moving from left to right. I'll show you some examples of that later. In fact, I've already shown you some examples earlier, but we'll go through that later on in a more advanced section later on. Static alignment and overlay image. Just to summarize, overlay image, you can have a full screen image which goes on top of your entire theme throughout your theme navigation, regardless of where you are. If you set this to 1 and then you put your overlay image within your images folder, you can have it on top. For example, the gbOS has a nice Game Boy style grid. That theme has a nice Game Boy style grid on top of everything, and it will very handily look like a Game Boy, which is fantastic. Static alignment, you can put individual pngs on top of backgrounds. Again, I'll explain this further on. I've talked enough about schemes. I'm very out of breath. That was about 20 minutes of showing you what every single one of these is. Thanks for listening to that bit. Now we're going to really start to get detailed, because what you can do is you can set backgrounds for individual pages on your theme. Here are all of the semi-updated names for all of the MUX programs you can have individual backgrounds for. On the left hand of the screen, I've put the most important ones, in my opinion. So MUX Launch is the main menu of your device. You can set an individual background for that by putting an image in a wall with muxlaunch.png, and that's genuinely all you need to do. Just make sure, again, the resolution is 640 by 480, and you won't have any issues. And also make sure that your scheme file, the background transparency, is set to 0, so it doesn't cover that image. Additionally, you also need to make sure that your animated background is set to 0, because otherwise, if it's set to 1, it'll be looking for a GIF instead of a PNG. Or you can have muxlaunch.gif and have animated background set as 1 on your scheme file, and you'll have a nice moving background for your MUX Launch main menu. MUX Start and MUX Charge, they are both the programs to put within wall and the program names .png, which will set your backgrounds for your charging window and your verbose start window, which will be quite useful. I'm going to go back to MUX Launch later to show you why I put those 8 list items there and those specific names for them. But otherwise, let's go through the rest of them. MUX History and MUX Favorite, yes, they are the names of the programs for those pages. Again, if you put them in your wall folder and have .png at the end with the resolution correct, those background images will show for those pages. Same with MUX Info and the 3 sub-pages, which are MUX Sys Info, Tester, and Credits. Just name them correctly and follow these standards and you'll be absolutely fine. Same goes for MUX Config and all of those pages afterwards as well, those names. You can have those individual backgrounds that you'd like. I have a little cheat if I'm doing individual backgrounds for all of the sub-pages. What I do is I make backgrounds for these ones. I make MUX Launch, MUX Start, MUX Charge, MUX Favorite, MUX History, and then one for MUX Info and one for MUX Config. Now what I do is I would take the background I make for MUX Info, copy it and rename it MUX Sys Info, MUX Tester, and MUX Credits. So those ones under the info page all have the same info background. And then for MUX Config, because of how many pages there are in there, I just make my default.png the same as whatever I want my config pages to look like. So then I don't have to keep renaming all these backgrounds, especially if in future updates there's more config pages. It's just a little cheat, which I tend to do. So yes, make sure, again, with all these backgrounds, they are PNGs and they're 640 by 480 in terms of resolution, and you won't have any issues with backgrounds. Those individual list items I mentioned there, and also list items for other pages, can be adjusted so that whenever you scroll between list items, you have individual pages of images, which, again, as I mentioned earlier, can make some really cool themes, especially if you're doing horizontal navigation. But I will get into that at a later section. I also need to say, we are going to cover this later on, but those PNG names aren't just for that usage. This is a quick screenshot to preview what we're going to look at later, but you can have individual scheme files for every page. So you can genuinely change everything. You can make it even look like a different theme per page with this functionality. And you can also do the same with fonts, which I'm going to lead into now. So one of the hardest things when learning how to do themes for muOS was custom fonts. You can search on the muos.dev website fonts, and this will come up. This is a website which is basically a tutorial for how to do it, but I'm going to run you through it, my method, which I think is relatively more simple, and it should be quite easy to follow along with for both Windows and Mac users. I believe it's the same method for both, but I'm going to test both whilst recording this, and record both and show you how to do this. So first thing you want to do, I'll include all these links in the description as well. You need to search lv-font-conf, and you'll find the GitHub page, which will basically convert your fonts from a TTF to a compact format. So it needs a .bin file. That people have noticed that there are online converters, but I don't think they are. I don't think they're usable. So to be able to use this, what you got to do is you got to install Node.js, or the latest version. So what you got to do when you click on that link, you'll go to the Node.js website, go to the pre-built installer, and get the most current one you can for macOS, running x64, which is what I'm on. Download it and install it. And then once that's done, you just have to go through the steps. Cool, and now that's installed, which is great. Go back to your GitHub, and you would like to install it from the npm registry. So you just copy this. On Mac, you've got to do it as an admin, so sudo space, and copy in this from GitHub. And once you've done that, it'll install it as an admin. Type in your admin password. Cool. And now that's installed. So I have a specific file command here, which I have kind of used over the past, God knows, and it helps me kind of do it very easily. What I do is I copy this first bit up to and including the first double apostrophe, copy it here, paste it here, and I grab a font. So in this case, I'm going to use Comic Sans. Should be quite an easy one. I take this, drag it in. There we go. Make sure, oh, I can see there's some backslashes here, which it doesn't like. So just in case, what I would do is get your font file and remove any spaces from it, and it'll get rid of the backslashes. You drag it in. Now you can see it's in here with an extra space at the end, so get rid of that space, and then grab the last bit with the double apostrophe at the end, copy this, paste it here, and enter. And there you go. It's made your bin file. You're done. What you got to do, though, to find it, it's actually ahead of your downloads folder. It's in here, a bin. So just copy this. Just for this this copy, I'm just going to paste it here. It's here as .bin. I'm going to rename it as default.bin. And that is your font for Mac, compiled and working. Let's test it out later. So here I'm going to show you how to do it on Windows. I'm just going to do it really fast, just to make it a bit more clear, because I kind of rambled as I was guessing my way through it. But for Windows, once you installed Node.js as an pre-built installer, you get that code again from LV Font Converter, and you go into command prompt. You go on command prompt and you do npm that copy that previous code there. So you put in my line of code, which is again LV underscore font underscore conv dash dash BBP 4. So I was going to say also size 20, you can change that to any size you want. 20 is the standard, but if you have a font which runs a bit small, you can bump it up to like 28 and then adjust the padding in your scheme file if it's off. But here I am, I'm just downloading Comic Sans totally legally from a GitHub repo somewhere, pasting that in there, trying to find my double apostrophe key. And once I end up doing that, there you go, I type in the rest of the code. And once everything is typed in, and you click enter using the code which I provide in the description, what you can do is you find the finished bin file in your Windows Explorer. And that's here. Let's go to me, which is Tom. There it is, the bin file. Okay, so before we continue, I'm going to quickly test this font file that we've just made. Here it is on my USB stick, default.bin. Let's drag that into there. And you put this into your font folder, open up your font folder, there it is. This will also help us test that pink boot logo we made earlier. The charging the start screens I haven't changed yet. I don't care enough to do it at the moment. So I'm gonna zip these up one-handed, just like this, and I'm gonna compress it. Oh, bollocks. Hold on, one, yeah, there we go. Right click, and then compress. And then I'm gonna drag this one into my SD card. Oh, I've actually already got my SD card here. I'm just gonna quickly rename it. Rename as muOS pink font test. Copy it. ROMs, muOS, themes, paste it there, and then let's see if it's worked. Okay, let's see how this goes. Let me just get my phone in a more comfortable position. We're gonna go to theme picker and find the file we just did, which was muOS pink font test. Come on, come on, come on. Moment of truth. I'll be very embarrassed if it doesn't work. Let's have a look. Wow, there you go. Comic Sans in all its glory. It looks pretty good again. The font size is good. No editing really needs to be done to the bin file. If you wanted to edit it, you have to actually just regenerate it and then just change the sizing, then adjust the scheme font padding to make sure everything's lined up. But everything looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Nice. First thing I want to go through is static alignment. Let me show you an example. So on PS, which is what I did at one point, what we had is a GIF here. This GIF here was the background to every single menu on the PS theme. It's default.gif, which means that therefore it's going to be the default background for every single page on the theme, apart from the boot logo, which is a BMP. So let's go back. Let's go back to the scheme file. So because we've got an animated background, what you've got to do is you've got to, first of all, make sure that that's alpha's on 0. Go all the way down to MISC, and animated background is set to 1. Now that that's set to 1, your default background will be that GIF that we had earlier. Now, the good thing about what static alignment images can do, as you can see on the image folder structure, it's just static next to wall. What you can do is you can put images per list item in both wall and static, but in this specific case it's very useful because, for example, on MUX launch, when you're going between explore, favorite and history and apps and all those options, you don't want that GIF to restart the loop. You want it to just be a solid background. You want it just to keep with this behind the scrolling options. Just to combine some advanced ideas, what I mentioned earlier with the scheme file is that what a lot of people do, if they want individual images as a main menu, you don't see your list items for the 8 options of explore, favorite, history, etc. What you want is you want to just get rid of all the list items, well, make sure they're not viewable. So what you would do is you'd create, as I kind of alluded to earlier, a new scheme file called muxlaunch.txt. So whenever you are within your main menu of muOS, you don't see the list items. This is the exact same text file as default. The only difference is that if you go down to list items, all the alphas are set to 0, which means that now all of your list items are invisible. So after you've done that, what you've got to do is you go in your graphic design software and you create individual list item images. So in this case, I made them static images so they could sit on top of the moving background. Just to clarify, you can set those different static alignment values within each theme. 0 which means bottom right in terms of layer adjustment, which means it will sit below the footer. 1 is middle right, 2 is top right, so just below the header. It means where it sits in terms of layering and also positioning, but the 2 most useful ones are going to be 3 and 4. So static alignment equals 3 means that your static images will sit below the header and footer, and static alignment value 4 means they'll sit above the header and footer. In this case, either works. All I wanted to do is to keep my static alignment images full screen so that I can position them correctly. So what you can do is you can create an MUX launch folder in either wall or static. And that means that whatever images you put into this folder within static or wall, each list item will be an individual image, which is very important. So on static in this case, let's look at what Explore looks like. Explore looks like this. It's a PS3. Well, I modeled it off PS3, but it was also inspired by the PSP stuff. But yeah, you can basically navigate from left to right between these icons. As long as they are named these PNG files and their 640 by 480 resolution, you can do anything you want with them. They can sit on top of default PNGs, but in this case, I've got them sitting on top of a looping background. And as long as your static alignment's on 4 and you've cropped your images correctly, you can do some really cool horizontal navigation like the PS theme. Here are some more themes that show off horizontal navigation. I didn't say this earlier, I just need to quickly say that to switch from vertical to horizontal navigation, you have to change that MISC variable here. Navigation type 0, which is vertical, which is what you see normally, which is up and down. But on the main menu, it goes left to right, so let's just go down. There it is, navigation type 1. On this MUXbox Dark theme, the main menu does exactly that. On the theme structure, on the image structure, there's no static images. On wall, you have all these individual PNGs for all those menus that I told you about earlier, but also an MUX launch folder within wall, and that's all of these. Yeah, to get around the positioning of the navigation buttons at the bottom, I actually embedded them into the PNG itself so that I didn't have to keep adjusting them or put them in a single place for this menu. Also, the same reason why the date and time and the battery icon I'm going to be missing from this main menu in the MU Xbox theme. But you have some limitations. Sometimes when you're creatively limited, it makes you even more creative in a weird way, which is what I kind of like about theming on muOS. But yeah, that's another advanced feature. Okay, so now I'm just going to go wild here, and I'm going to show you loads about how to create graphics, or just some general creative ideas for you in terms of finishing off or creating like quite a cool theme for muOS. So first of all, let's go to the theme we've been working on. I know that's it's a really pink theme on a black background, so let's just go over some ideas of what you can do in terms of individual list item images and making your main menu look really cool and not just a list like this. A screenshot from my device. You can do that by clicking L2 and R2. The good thing about having a screenshot to work off as well is that you can tell where the footer is and the header of your image. So what you can do is, what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to just select the middle bit and just cut it out. And leave this layer and call it the do not touch layer. But yeah, there's a few things you can do in terms of individual list items and how you want to navigate. There's a few, if you take other themes as examples, right? GBOS, that's a theme which has all 8 of the menu items we just saw on the screen. On the screen at all times, but each option is highlighted. That's a way you can do it. Some other people like to do it in a way where it looks like it's scrolling, like you're scrolling through different items. Other people do it in a way where, well, you can do it horizontally or vertically, really. I'm just going to go ahead and start an idea. So let's say that we're going to do it in the way of some of the classic Onion OS ones, which is where you have 4 items on the screen at once, each option highlighted, and you navigate between 2 pages. If you think of it as in like this, as 8 bits to navigate through in total in the main menu, that means you can do 4 and 4. So I'm going to do this really rough. I would say don't take this as a direct way to do it. I'm going to take this pink that we've got earlier. There it is, the most pink you can get, FFOOFF, and we are going to make an icon. So this one's just gonna, so this one's explore, the first one's explore. Let's just make that it's gonna look really shit, purposefully of course, a game controller. So this, oh god, okay, it just looks like a pair of sunglasses, but you know what, it's fine. Oh, that's a bit better, I think. I don't know. You know what, I'm gonna do that again. Yeah, there you go, that looks like a folder. So after explore, you've got favorite, so let's just make a little heart. How sweet. There we go, that looks good. After that, we've got history. Got to do a clock. That's the way you do it. Do this, do that, great. And then after history, it's applications. I want to do this. Some people, when they do application, they do like the grid like you see on like iPhones or mobile devices. So let's just do this. Yeah. So there's some icons. Let's do a new layer and let's do the rest of them. That was meant to be a cog. Once you've got all of your icons, what you would do then is you want to tell the crowd, what is it? So let me just get Comic Sans up. Comic Sans. I'll do mine bold actually. Explore. There's this one here. Favorite, this one here. Normally you would do it all lined up, but as is Comic Sans, it's a funny font. Let's make it a funny theme. Apps, there you go. There we go. take these out. Let's find this. Let's do some more. Perfect, so now that's done. The next thing we have to do is create the individual images. So let's get rid of this do not touch error since we're good with that now. What some people do is they add dots on the bottom so you can kind of like use it to navigate. This is something I've seen recently with some themes, and I haven't actually tried it before, but it's a good idea. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll grab these, put them up into the middle. There's loads of ways to go about it. I'm not actually the best in terms of photoshopping, but you know what? It's just good fun, eh? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that everything which isn't selected is going to have opacity. That's a bit dark. Let's just go with 50. Opacity 50 for everything which isn't selected. So let's take favorites, history, and apps. Take them down to 50. Same with the icons. So I'm just going to duplicate this image to make sure this is selected. And then take the opacity of this down to 50. Great. So that's what your main menu will look like this. I'm going to export this as a PNG, and I'm going to name it Explore. I'm going to do the same with all of the layers now, very quickly. I'll fast forward this so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so once you've done that, let's put them in. So let's have a preview of them. God, they're beautiful. They're so pretty. Look at them. These names are standard across all the themes. This is the only way that you can get the individual list items to do it. These are the names for them. If you're wondering how I found these, it's on the muOS.dev website, but now I've done it so many times that I can just remember these names off by heart. Let's copy them all. We're going to use this in wall. So here's our wall one here. And whilst we're here, let's get rid of these yellows. We don't want them. If we get rid of them, that means the default one will be used. Remember on this one, our default background is actually just an alpha color, so hex code, black, opaque. So if we get rid of MUX charge and start, it will just be opaque. But let's make a new folder called MUX launch, go into here and paste these in. And then after we've done that, what we've got to do is go into scheme and make a TXT file that is has invisible list items. So MUX launch, go into here, find the list, here we are. So alphas all on 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Save down here, and then what we can do is we can just see if this has worked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Grab all of these and then zip them. Whoopsie daisy, and then zip them like this. I'm actually going to do it in a different program, which I'll explain in a bit. It's basically called Keka. It makes zips which don't have extra files that you don't need. And this is going to be called Comic Sans Pink. So we're going to take Comic Sans Pink. I'm going to paste it into the right place. So muOS, get rid of this. Theme, paste it there. There it is, Comic Sans Pink. Now let's see if this has worked. So funny enough, I realized as soon as I stopped recording that there's some things which I have missed. So if you remember back to when we were talking about using hex codes and stuff as the default background, well, on MUX launch, we have to make sure that alpha's on 0. just to be sure. I'm not 100% sure on this because I don't know the layering of it, if the background color sits on top of the image or not. I really haven't tested it enough, but I'm going to put that there. And also, just in case as well, I have decided to put an image in a wall, just a default black PNG, just to be safe, because I'm still experimenting with this. So now we have all of these in there. Let's now zip that up again and see how we get on. Okay, so this is going to be the first boot after I reflash my device. Don't ask me. Actually, I'll say I fucked up the theme. So I had to reflash the device. Let's go into config and find our latest update. Comic Sans Pink latest update. Okay, here we go. There we are. Look at that. That's fantastic news. Yeah, so what I found happened, I think it was because I didn't have a default PNG in there, and or another reason. There's loads of things that can happen to make your theme crash, but I know soon there's going to be an update, which means that when you put in a theme into your device and select it, the active theme is now going to be in another folder within themes called active. I might be wrong, it might change, but that's just at the moment a thing they're working on. Just to round off theme creation, just so you can get some more creative ideas, the best thing I'd recommend actually is going to like other theme websites for other custom firmwares like Onion OS and Garlic OS, especially Onion OS. There's some really good themes. In fact, I made the DS one recently, and that one was modeled off of one person in Onion OS, one of the themes over there. So yeah, that's the best thing I'd recommend. I'm not really going to do a tutorial on how to get really good at graphic design and replicate the look of devices like this. It is the best way to learn, I think, is just to do it. So just go out there, test things with your graphic design software, even try making shitty things like this in Paint. Like, you can make it work, and it's great. It's really awesome how you can just create some weird stuff like this, and it actually looks not half bad in an ironic way. But yeah, there's no shame in taking ideas from others in terms of graphic design. Just remember that. And you know what, just have fun. Take stuff from Google, maybe credit some people, but you know what? Who cares? Just go for it and just let your creativity run wild. Yay! As I'm just trying to round off all the cool things you can do on muOS, I'm just going to go over some things which I may have missed. The gbOS overlay, let's just see where that is. Aha, it's right here. So if you want an overlay, that's where you put it. So in the image folder, next to Bootlogo, and before the wall folder, you've got to put your overlay here. This is what that looks like. Two more crucial parts of publishing your theme anywhere, really, are archives and preview images. I'm gonna go over them quickly now. So first of all, if you want to generate a preview image so that when you're scrolling through the theme picker menu and you can see a preview of the theme before you enable it, what you do is you take a screenshot of the theme on your device, or alternatively, if you don't want to do that, just create a graphic which shows your preview image, or what you want to see it as a preview image. Normally what I would do is I go to the very main menu, the top part of the theme, and then I click the screenshot button, which for most devices is going to be L2 and R2 on your device. And then you would take that PNG and you would have to shrink it down, because if you took a 640 by 480 resolution image and use that as a preview image, it would take up the entire screen, so you wouldn't even be able to see the menu really. So that's a bit crap. So what you would do is, I would typically resize my preview images, and I think this is standard for most people, to 288 by 216 resolution. I would do that in Photoshop. That's the way that I would do it. however you want to do it. There's many ways. You've got your own graphic design software at this point if you've got this far, potentially. If not, I'm sure there's an online website like I've done it before. So that's how you generate a preview image. And then the concept of archives, again, when you drop an archive enabled zip into the archive folder, you'll be able to install it instantly like that. The advantage of this is, in this case, linking back to what I just taught you about preview images, is that you can install the preview image at the same time. So how you would create this archive is as follows. So you would have these folders here. I'm going to say them out loud. You've got MNT, and inside MNT you've got MMC, and inside of that you've got muOS, inside of that you've got theme, and inside of that you've got preview. You want to drop the working theme zip that you would normally drop into your theme folder on your device into theme here, and then you want to paste your preview image that you made inside of that preview folder. Make sure they're named the same thing. That's the way they're linked, is by naming them the same thing. It's the same with box art and games, the way that muOS processes that. So as long as that's the case, what you want to do is this time you do want to compress the root. So you want to click on MNT like this and compress it. Once you've done that, you've got your working archive. You can just drop that zip you've just created, which you've created by zipping MNT, and you plonk that on your device, rename it to whatever you want, and as soon as you click install on your archive manager, the theme will install with the preview image in the right place. And that's how you make archives. Pretty simple. What else do we have here? We have Pop, which is a fantastic theme by the crazily talented L. Marco Miranda, and this theme's great. It looks fantastic. It's got the individual MUX launch icons, which I mentioned as well. I think this is probably the best part of Beans, is that you can do this. As long as you can use Photoshop pretty well, or Adobe Illustrator, or you can work your way around Paint or any kind of graphic design software. The new themes available are just absolutely insane. But I think with that, I've given you all the tools you would need to create something quite spectacular. Soon they may be adding the music and sound folders back in. For a lot of themes, they're currently still in there because it will probably be re-implemented soon. Music, I'm not so sure about. This folder is actually empty for this specific theme. But who knows? You just got to stay tuned with the development of Beans. And I think from me, that's actually it. I'm going to leave it at that. I know it's been a very long video, but I hope that this has taught you a lot. Big shout outs to all the amazing themers that work on muOS. Big shout out to Adixel. Big shout out to Anti-KK. Big shout out to El Marco Miranda, Bazcart, Jupiter for helping me. For macOS, there's a application called Keka, which you can use to zip things without adding any pesky Mac files, like DS Store and other weird things that Apple puts into their zips when you compress stuff or when you're navigating through folders on your Mac. So I'd recommend when you're zipping, use this application. It's great. In the description of this video, I'll also include some extra things like a command line which will delete DS stores before you zip. Specifically for Mac users, because that's what I use. But for everyone, some other things, please support muOS by donating to the Ko-fi link if you can. If not, just enjoy muOS and go to their Discord. Just throw some love down there. Everyone's lovely there. So yeah, put that link in there. I have a updated list of every single theme currently made for muOS, which is updated at the start of every month. That's there as well. There's the website. There's loads of things there. Please check it out if you can. But I do think that is now all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. I don't know if I'm ever going to do any more big content like this, but really thank you so much for sticking out all the way through this. Support muOS, play games, have fun, create themes that people love, and all the good stuff. Thanks guys, see you later.